Reynolds. David Moyes is wanting your support, West Ham fans, because they know they're in something of a predicament and they need your help to get them out of it. Many West Ham fans getting in touch. Now, Dom Smith is one of them. As a West Ham fan, we're sick and tired of the same repetitive stuff from Moyes. We are supporting the club. We're giving them our backing. But the manager seems to be scared to change, so he's got to be brave. Simon's a big West Ham fan. Simon, good morning to you. Where do you stand in this?
Good morning, Jim.
Morning, mate.
Can I pick up on two things that Martin has...
For sure, yeah.
Which I think are questionable at the very best. One is, he said, I fear for Everton because they don't seem to have an identity of the way that they play, but West Ham do. Martin, how many times have you seen West Ham live this season? Because if you've seen them more than twice and you think they've got an identity, then you have no clue. And the second point is, you said that David Moyes is a good manager, and anyone who's done something for 30 years and has won nothing and has to the detriment of 3 or 4 of the clubs that he's managed. I'm struggling to see what your point is there.
Are you going to the game, Simon, at the weekend?
I certainly did. I was up at Wolverhampton with the other 3,500.
Are you going at the weekend?
I will be, yeah.
As an Evertonian, I'm delighted, because if you're going to go and give that kind of support to your team, the discontent to hear from you is unreal. You've got a manager you don't want. And I honestly feel...
I just challenged 2 points that you made.
And I'm challenging your challenge on it, because I think that, yes, when you look at that team,
Moyes is a good manager, and we've got an identity.
Was he a good manager when you were tussling for 4th place last season?
Right.
Was he a good manager? No, come on, no, right. Tell me now. What is right and positioning? Tell me. Was he a good manager last season? No, yes or no?
I've just said no. I don't know.
He wasn't. Okay. That's unfair. That's harsh. Right, well, he was a good manager last year. He'll never be a good manager in your mind if he's nearly 4th and he's not a good manager.
Martin, I'll back it up. But if you give me 2 seconds just to back up why I don't think he's a good manager, I'll point it out to you. And then you can challenge me, okay?
On you go, Simon.
Right, in January 2022, we were 4th in the league and we were top of the Europa League thing, and we qualified and didn't have to play the next game, okay? We had 13, 1-3, fit outfield players at the time. He decided not to purchase anyone. He came up with the Rafinha and Phillips stuff, which was beyond ridiculous, on the basis that Phillips didn't kick a ball until March because he was injured. So that was clearly, there was no truth in that. And he's just done a podcast this very morning where he admitted that he turned down Alvarez because he thought Antonio was playing so well. 13 outfield players. We were still in the FA Cup. We were still in Europa, and we were 4th in the league. And I said that we will finish 20 points behind Tottenham, Arsenal and Man United this season because of his lack of foresight. Well, 20 points would be a dream. So that's
Simon,
where Moyes lost the fan base.
When they bought Skamaka and Paquetá, were you pleased with those signings? Did you think, as a West Ham fan, we're going to another level? We're spending some money. No. These are high caliber.
No, because I've never seen either of them play before in my life. So
and you're talking
to them bad players,
and Simon, and you're calling for me in terms of my analysis of West Ham and my knowledge of football, and you've never seen those two play before. That's a ridiculous comment.
So how many times have you seen Skamaka and Paquetá play then, Martin?
Because I've got the facility to look at it, so I'm watching them. They're good players. It's another step up. To think that West Ham are even in the running for those players 5 years ago was almost a miracle.
Yeah, but Martin, Simon would tell you those same players are not doing it for West Ham at the moment.
Because they're not fitting into...
Hang on, Simon.
They're not quite fitting in, Simon, to the way that West Ham we used to play. The Bodens and people are not... Benaramas, they're not producing right now. It's a difficult time. What I'm calling for, though, is the West Ham fans to stick with, as I am with the Everton fans, stick with their players. I don't think it's a million miles for David Moyes to get it right. There's been progress at that football club.
We've got such a good manager. We've got England's number 4, Italy's number 9, Brazil's number 10.
So who do you want?
A shot on target once a game if you're lucky.
Who do you want?
The manager's not a problem.
Who do you want as the next manager for that football club?
Martin, I'm not a scout, right? I don't scout footballers. And
you're good at telling me what's wrong, but you don't have any solutions. If you've got a solution, I'd like to hear it. So don't go to the game at the weekend if you're just going to go there and whinge and moan and not get behind your team.
How do you know whether I whinge or moan when I go to football?
Well, it sounds like it. If you like this on a Monday morning, I'm pretty well certain you like it on a Saturday afternoon.
No, I like it on a Monday morning because somebody on the radio spouts stuff that they know nothing about. West Ham have an identity in the way they play. Again, I brought that up. You've skipped over that because I've asked for you to explain that identity, and you can't explain.
Well, can you
I
answer
think it's very
Simon on
clear.
that one, Martin? Do they have an identity?
I think they do. I think it's very clear. I think they play with that 4-3-3 system. I think Rice sits deep now. I think one of the problems this year is that they used to have a 2 that sat there, but now it's 1. They're trying to be more creative in that midfield, and they're losing that battle. I don't think BeIN has really turned up this season. Of course, at the impact of not making the World Cup squad, they've gone back with Antonio, and he's dried up in front of goal. That's their issues. But I do see a clear identity. Without doubt, I see an identity.
Simon, thanks for your call. Steve, we'll finish with you, and then we're heading to the 12 noon bulletin. Steve, another West Ham fan. Steve, good morning. Your fears are otherwise for your club right now?
Oh, unbelievable. Our identity is that Moyes hasn't got a clue. He's got far too many favourites. Martin's saying that, Ben Rama's not playing up to standard. Ben Rama's been our best player this season, but for some reason, Moyes refuses to pick him. He hasn't picked him. He keeps putting him back on the bench, and no wonder he gets annoyed. Like Martin turned around and said that Souček's not playing, Bowen's not playing, or not playing well. But the problem is, they're Moyes' favourites, and he's still picking them. He picks them. Downs should be in the midfield. Downs played really, really well when he came in, and he's a proper West Ham player. He's a West Ham fan, and he wants to play, and he plays like he cares. Souček just turns up this season, picks up his wages, and I'd like to know what Martin thinks our identity's been in the last 12 months, because we've won 5 Premier League games. That's not an identity. Our identity is we sit there, we soak up pressure, and we don't get a shot on target. We bring in all these players to put us on the front foot and change the way we play. Unfortunately, we've got a manager that's trying to put square pegs in round holes. We don't play to the players that he's brought in. So did he bring the players in? Because if he didn't, then there's an even bigger issue there.
This is going to be a cracking game at the weekend, isn't it? I can't wait to see the atmosphere, to see all these West Ham fans getting behind. Maybe it's just the perfect atmosphere for Everton to get a result, where they ended up at a football ground where it's just as much disjointed as they find themselves in themselves.
Well, I mean, sarcastic or not, Steve, will you be getting behind them as you always do? Because that's what David Moyes is asking you to do.
We always get behind the team. But the thing is, the manager needs to pick a team that's got a chance before we take the field. We go out there, and I guarantee he will pick the same team. Maybe he'll put Skemaker in, but he'll put Fornells in instead of Ben Rama, when we need to be getting at Everton because they've got less confidence than what we have, if that's possible.
All right. Listen, Steve, thank you very much indeed. We shall see, as you rightly say, Martin, it's quite a match coming up. They all are at the moment, but there's one at the wrong end of the table that we will focus upon come the time. West Ham up against Everton.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.